It torments you a little bit. It scares you. I'm scared of the rain now.
There was at least one EF1 tornado that hit our city yesterday in the Newburgh area.
Broken poles, downed wires, broken trees.
It lasted maybe a minute. It was just went from not raining to pouring to the wind, and then it was all gone.
We have had a rough spring.
It's hurtful, and my heart and soul and prayers go out to the families that have been through this, that's going through this, and my heart and soul goes out to the man that lost his life.
A Louisville family sits heartbroken tonight. A young man died in yesterday's storm.
And we now know his name, Billy Corum, 30 years old. The coroner's office says Corum was out walking his dog last night when strong winds caused a large tree to fall right on him. It happened in the south end off Woodchat Way in Valley Station.
Corum's family tells WDRB he loved music and worked at UPS. They say he was the type of person who always told his family he loved them. His father says Corum called him to wish him a happy birthday yesterday. He got the call from the coroner just 2 hours later.
Wow, at least 3 tornadoes tore through Louisville yesterday. This video from Louisville's south end shows just how destructive the storm was. This apartment complex took a direct hit. Now as many as 50 people are out of a home. We do have team coverage across our area today. WDRB's Dalton Godby is in Cordon, Indiana, but let's go first to WDRB's Christy Batista at that apartment complex near Pleasure Ridge Park. Christy?
Well, Gail, the National Weather Service says an EF1 tornado came through this area. We are at the Oaks at St. Andrews, and the damage is widespread. Surveyors are saying this is one of the worst spots they've seen. Shingles ripped off, debris is everywhere, a tree through someone's bedroom. We talked to the man who was inside that room when the tornado hit. That is the room that you are looking at right now. Nahum Neal just laid down for a nap in his apartment when the storm came through. The National Weather Service saying the tornado had gusts at least 110 miles per hour. That's within 5 miles per hour of an EF2 tornado. At that moment, Neal's fear came true. The tree came in, hitting him, knocking him to the ground.
Came in, it hit me in the shoulder, it hit me in the ribs, it forced me out the bedroom. I lost my balance, I hit my head on the stairwell, and I fell down the steps.
And even though the fear runs deep for him, he says it still could have been much worse. He says he's thankful he and his family are still alive. The Red Cross is helping the people who lived in these apartments. They said they have provided temporary shelters for at least 20 of those people, and there is still shelter available for anybody else who needs them. Reporting live with photojournalists Emily Evans and Jeff Gordon, I'm Christy Batista, WDRB News.
All right, Christy, thank you. And look at this video of a tree falling onto a home. This was sent to us by a neighbor on Inverness Avenue. That's near Iroquois Park, and wow. Most of this street is closed due to trees and power lines down. We are thankful to tell you today that no one was home when the storm rolled through. The property owner says this is the 3rd home she owns that has suffered damage this season because of storms. Well, the hits just kept on coming and coming and coming.
It's so hard for so many.
Month.
Yeah.
Well, depending on where you were when the storms hit, you may have also heard the city's tornado sirens going off.
But today, the mayor's office confirmed one siren in St. Matthews wasn't working like it should have been.
Other than that, all of the other sirens are working. We get immediate notification when they're not on a map that shows them.
Mayor Craig Greenberg says the city received an alert from the National Weather Service at 5:18 p.m. He says the city's sirens were activated less than 30 seconds later. The city says the siren that wasn't working in St. Matthews will be replaced. The mayor continues to encourage people to sign up for emergency text alerts by texting LENS Alert, that's LENS, to 67283. You can also sign up for alerts with the WDRB weather app. We've got all that info on our website for you.
All right, let's cross the river now. Cordon, Indiana. It saw high winds as well, with downed trees and power lines throughout the area.
WDRB's Dalton Godby is live there for us now. Dalton, the National Weather Service has not surveyed the damage there yet, but what are you seeing?
Seeing a lot of downed trees, a lot of downed power lines, and a lot of what you're seeing behind me, crews working to clean up the mess that is widespread across Harrison County, especially here in Corydon, as they try to work together to piece back these things that were destroyed yesterday. Many of the homes in this area took minor damage across Corydon. Trees were hit really hard. I've seen dozens of trees uprooted, cracked, and some are even laying on power lines. Many are without power as crews work to get that restored. One large tree here just behind me fell into a man's home near downtown Corydon. Some businesses took damage from the wind as well. While the National Weather Service, as Hayden mentioned, is yet to assess the damage, some do believe it was a tornado that came through here.
And I could see things start swirling, and as I looked up, I seen it on the ground.
We do believe that the NWS will survey here tomorrow. Luckily, so far, we haven't heard of any injuries because of the storm in Harrison County. Live with photojournalist Frank Stamper, Dalton Godby, WDRB News.
Damage across the area shows just how destructive the storms were.
The National Weather Service has confirmed 3 tornadoes touched down in Louisville, another touchdown in Meade County, Kentucky. Surveying still going on. Mark, do we think that there's some other spots that may have been hit by a twister?
So we do know that there was damage near J-Town. We're not 100% sure if the Weather Service will or will not survey that area, but I do think they'll probably give it a look. And specifically, I think we all know that there's damage in Harrison County, specifically near Corydon. The plan all along today was to get in there to do the survey. We just ran out of time. And so the Weather Service is very likely, we don't know exactly for sure, but really from the Crawford County area crossing over into Harrison, and we're not sure if it's necessary towards Floyd or not, but these are areas that we would indeed look at tomorrow. What we know is that there were 2 touchdowns here just east of the airport. One ended near Van Hoos Education Center with 90-mile-an-hour winds. One ended near Yum Brands headquarters with 95-mile-an-hour winds. This is the PRP tornado. A lot of people have asked, why did the sirens not go off? Why did I not get that emergency alert on my phone? So this was a severe thunderstorm with tornado possible tag. I will tell you that as things stand with how we do things right now, tornado sirens do not sound for that scenario. I will also let you know that if you have the WDRB weather app, you're going to get warnings regardless whether it activates the alert from the emergency system on your phone. So either way, you would get those. We also confirmed an EF1 tornado near Brandenburg with 110-mile-an-hour winds and an area straight line winds north of Flaherty that were 80 to 110. Those are crazy strong winds. Some showers continue in the southern part of our area. A few as we go towards Danville. In motion, I mean, I think everybody would say this along with me. I'm glad it's quiet. I'm glad it's cold outside at 52 degrees with a north-northwest wind at 5, and I'm glad there's no tornadoes in our area. The weather over the next 7 days has some big jumps in it. I'm talking about when we surge to 80 in 10 minutes.
All right, Mark, thank you. We'll talk to you then. At least 2 confirmed tornadoes hit Louisville's Newburgh neighborhood.
Drone video shows the power of more than 100-mile-per-hour winds. You can see an entire wall here. It's just flattened. It collapsed.
WDRB's Jalen Level spoke with the building's manager today.
The damage is pretty extensive in this community. You can see yellow tape is still up, and to put it all into perspective for you, we're standing in the middle of this street. This tree is blocking traffic for neighbors to enter in and outside of the community. And the homeowner, this house that I'm standing in front of, he didn't want to speak with us on camera, but if you look on the far side, significant damages of the house from the tree. And the homeowner mentioned that his girlfriend and her child were inside the home when the tree collapsed on his house. Now again, many people just saying that it could have been worse, and they're lucky. Blue tarps covering buildings and homes.
No way you can plan for a disaster like this.
After the walls of this warehouse crumbled into pieces.
It crushed 2 HVAC units down there on that end.
Mark Lesterfield built the warehouse more than 30 years ago. He says his tenants were inside when 2 EF1 tornadoes hit the Newburgh area.
We were lucky that no one got hurt.
Just a few blocks away.
I heard a few booms, and all of a sudden I saw all of the trees just across the street.
Homes without power.
I couldn't get out of the driveway. I couldn't do anything.
Melissa Vaughn works from home and described the moment she heard a massive tree collapse on her garage.
I didn't know where it was safe to go. I didn't really know what was happening, and all the windows were just fluttering.
Many in the area saying it could have been worse.
It's just sort of, you're surprised.
Now the power remains out in this community, and I want again to put into perspective, this is not the same tree. We are across the street. This tree just barely missing the house, and as we were driving down the Waterson on Poplar Level Road, you can see on the south end 6 power lines completely snapped. Power still remaining out. Many people just glad that they're still alive. Reporting with photojournalist Darius Bowie, Jalen Level, WDRB News.
Let's get an update now on power outages in Louisville. This is a real-time look at the LG&E map. Again, Louisville took the brunt of yesterday's storm. At the peak, there was about 18,000 outages. I remember seeing around 10 o'clock last night, but now we are down to around 3,500 in LG&E service area. 34 of that 3,500 is in Louisville. So crews are getting the power and the lights back on pretty quickly.
And it actually takes hundreds of LG&E crews to work to restore power to those customers. To get the lights back on, the company has about 400 teams working around the clock. Utility crews from other states, including South Carolina and West Virginia, have been in town for several weeks to help with this repeated storm damage.
When you have the repeated weather systems, then it has the potential to continue to cause damage to some of those areas that are already weakened. So all of that has the potential to cause system impacts, and so it's rough. But I will say that our crews and our business partners and our contract resources are all, they're all about trying to make sure that customers get their service restored.
LG&E says it hopes to have power restored to all of its customers by Friday night.
A tornado confirmed in Meade County from last night's storm. We walk you through some of the damage that's left behind.
The National Weather Service recorded a 4th tornado in Meade County, Kentucky. You can see some of the damage here, just trees flattened.
Beautiful cedar trees that once lined a driveway are now splintered and ripped right out of the ground. WDRB's Darby Bean walks us through the area.
Tree after tree uprooted or snapped. These giant cedars had been here for years, and they all came crashing down at about the same time. The drive down this path had been a symbol of home for the family whose house sits at the end. But most of the trees that lined it for decades are now gone.
Since I can remember. I know they were here probably when Daddy was growing up.
A neighbor's home security cameras captured the winds picking up in the front yard and out back. In an instant, you can see the wood snapping. Across the road, Larry Irwin's electrical panel was ripped from the side of his house. Trees are also uprooted in his yard, and there's too many branches and sticks to count.
I heard it coming. I opened the curtain up, and all I could see of things was going sideways.
From his house, you can see the one across the street lost part of its roof. It's already covered with a tarp. The National Weather Service came to assess the damage and determined an EF1 tornado hit Meade County.
All consistent with 110-mile-per-hour winds.
Many here say they're still picking up after the last storm.
It's been an extremely windy winter and continuing into spring. A lot of storm systems moving across Kentucky, and just goes to show that we need to be prepared.
Irwin says more than a dozen church members, neighbors, and friends have already checked on him and offered to help clean up.
Thank God we're here, we're safe, and the rest of us can be put back together.
At the end of the drive with all the splintered cedars, another tree snapped, just missing the house and the family inside.
Yeah, we've got a lot of family that have passed, and I think they are all around that house making sure those trees didn't hit it, because we had some angels watching over us, that's for sure.
Those in Meade County say despite all of this, they're thankful no one here was hurt. Reporting with photojournalist Dave White, Darby Bean, WDRB News.
You know, and one thing I want to say about that tornado in Meade County, it was only on the ground for about 30 seconds. It just goes to show you how quickly this can happen. So we go from 40s in the extended to 80. I'm talking about a significant warm-up, and if there's any wind or severe weather potential in the next 7 days. Next.
Many of you may be curious about how the National Weather Service determines what areas to issue storm warnings in.
WDRB's Christy Batista talked to meteorologist Hannah Strong about why you still need to be careful if your area is under a thunderstorm warning.
So, Hannah, the damage is significant in the Iroquois Park area. A lot of people were watching from their front porch, watching from their windows because it was under a thunderstorm warning in this area in particular. Can you discuss the difference between a thunderstorm warning and a tornado warning?
Yeah, so the thunderstorm warning that was issued for this area in particular on Wednesday night was the top level thunderstorm warning that exists. It included a tag that a tornado is possible at any moment, and it was alerting for wind gusts up to 80 miles an hour, the strongest that we alert for. That's destructive wind. And then once this storm moved past this area, it did get a tornado warning as it moved out of the eastern part of Jefferson County.
And National Weather Service is going around Louisville and southern Indiana to discuss and really look at the damage that they find to see if it was a tornado that came through, if it was an EF1 tornado that came through. Can you go over really what the things are that they're looking for?
Yeah, they're looking at a lot. So the first question is, was the damage caused by straight line wind or a tornado? If it was a tornado, then we need to figure out what its EF ranking was going to be. And that's all determined from the damage that you see and how strong the wind had to be to do that damage. So the Weather Service employees conduct their survey. They've got essentially a workbook of, when I see this kind of tree with these specific pieces of damage done to it, that's how strong the wind had to be to do this damage, which translates to this ranking of a tornado. And so they go through that looking for several damage indicators at every location. And then remember, it's not just the one point where we're at. They're following a track, whether it be wind damage or tornado damage. They're following a track, and they need to find damage indicators all along that track to figure out how strong the wind was and then if that translates to a tornado ranking.
And I know they're the experts in this, but when you're walking down the street here, we're on Inverness Avenue, right off of Iroquois Park. Can you tell really what they're going to find?
Yeah, it's tough to be in one location and on the ground. Drones have really helped so much in these tornado or damage surveys. What's interesting here is that when you're just seeing damage to one or two homes, that's different than seeing damage to an entire neighborhood. You know, a whole neighborhood, you're likely seeing a large wind swath or even a larger tornado. We've really seen a lot of damage from this particular storm where we have huge root balls on trees that come out of the ground. Instead of the tree being snapped, the whole tree comes out of the ground. So then you're thinking about how much force it takes on the whole tree to knock it over instead of to just snap it. So no, I can't say definitively what we're looking at here. The Weather Service will do that for us, but I'll tell you, no matter if it was straight line wind or a tornado, it was incredibly strong, and these folks are lucky that so many of them came out of it relatively unscathed.
And that is actually what we're seeing with this tree that's on this house here. The whole tree is just completely toppled over onto this house. It wasn't like it snapped.
Right, and then you see the structural damage to the house. So the brick facade here on the front porch has crumbled after the roof of the porch crumbled, likely in response to the weight of the tree coming down on that house. So again, each of those factors are something that the Weather Service will look at. How the house was built, the structure itself, the size, width and health of the tree, what kind of tree it is, all of that factors into how strong the wind was to be able to do something like this.
But just looking at this, it just goes to show, even if it says it's a thunderstorm warning, you really need to pay attention to what you, the meteorologists, the scientists are saying when it comes to these strong winds.
Yeah, listen, I get it. A thunderstorm warning is not as sexy as a tornado warning, right? But the wind is just as strong, moving either in one direction to do that straight line wind damage or moving in a couple of different directions when the storm is rotating with a tornado. But 80-mile-per-hour wind is 80-mile-per-hour wind, and this is what it does.
Hannah, thanks for your time.
Yeah.